Hello students, hope you all are fit and fine at home. Welcome back on my YouTube channel, and in this video you will learn about the transportation and in that human circulatory system. This is a part 1, and in this you will study about heart. Now, circulatory system consists of heart, arteries, veins, capillaries, blood and lymph. We know that blood transports oxygen, food and other waste materials in our body. Waste materials like carbon dioxide, urea, etc. And we have learnt in class 9th that blood is a connective tissue and it consists of a fluid medium, and this fluid is known as plasma. And in plasma the cells are suspended. Which cells? Red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, etc. And oxygen is carried by the red blood corpuscles, and many other substances like salts are transported by blood. For this all we need a pumping organ to push the blood around the body, a network of tubes to reach all the tissue, and a system in place to ensure that this network can be repaired if damaged. Let's see what is the significance of circulatory system. Number 1, transport of gases. Oxygen and carbon dioxide are transported through blood, carbon dioxide through plasma, and oxygen is transported through red pigment, that is hemoglobin, through RBCs, red blood corpuscles. Transport of nutrients also transported through plasma. The waste also transported from the cells through blood, plasma. Transport hormones, also transport hormones to the target place. Means wherever the hormone is needed, this hormone through blood reaches to that place. And the blood contains cells to fight with infections also, that is WBCs. This all in detail we'll study in the next video. See the structure of the heart. Heart is basically our pumping organ, and if you just close your fist, it is as big as your fist. This is the size of our heart. So first of all, try to understand the structure of the heart. Heart has 4 chambers. There are 4 chambers. You can see here, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3, and this is 4. So these 4 chambers are, 2 are on the left side and 2 are on the right hand side. This part is the left one, this complete part, and this complete part is towards this is on the right side. This is right side and this is left side. Clear? And the upper chamber, this upper chamber, it is called atrium. You can see this is the left atrium, and because it is on left side, and this is left side lower chamber, it is left ventricle. And this one is the right atrium. You can see this one is the right atrium, this one, third one, and this fourth one is the right ventricle. So these are the 4 chambers we have. And in between these chambers, you can see this is a dividing wall. This one is the dividing wall, if you can see this. Otherwise I can use the another color for showing it. See, this is the dividing wall, and this wall is known as septum. Clear? You can see this is septum. It divides these chambers so that there will be no mixing of the blood. This orange color, first and second chamber, left side, you can see this is the oxygenated blood. On left hand side, oxygenated blood is there. Oxygenated blood. And on right hand side, this is deoxygenated blood. So the blue color is shown with the for the deoxygenated blood, and red color you can see this is for the oxygenated blood. Now, very importantly, you should understand which vessels brings the blood from the lungs and which vessels carry the blood to the body and organs, which vessels brings the blood from the body organs, that is the deoxygenated blood, and then it is sent to the lungs. So here you can see this is the pulmonary veins. These pulmonary veins brings the blood to the left upper chamber, that is the atrium, and then from atrium it goes to ventricle and then through aorta. So aorta is the biggest artery. Remember this, these questions are frequently asked, which is the biggest artery, that is aorta. And in the same way, the deoxygenated blood from the body comes into the right atrium first, that is the third chamber. I have written here, three number. You can see, and then from atrium it goes to the right ventricle. And blood when comes into the atrium, whether it is on the left side or right side, means oxygenated blood when comes into the left atrium, it comes when the atrium relaxes. Then atrium contracts and then blood goes into the ventricle. And there are two valves present in between the atrium and the ventricle. One on the left side and one on the right side. The function of the valve is to prevent the backward flow of the blood. Means the blood which is reached to ventricle from the atrium, it will not flow back to the atrium again. Right? In the same way, deoxygenated blood comes first into the atrium, right atrium, and then it goes to the right ventricle, and from right ventricle it goes to the lungs for the purification. See in the next slide now. Now see, this is how the blood passes through heart. This is lungs. So from the lungs, you know that we take oxygen. Oxygen comes into the lungs, right? O2 comes in lungs. Means the oxygenated blood is there in the lungs. So this oxygenated blood, and you can see that red color arrows are shown for the oxygenated blood and blue color is shown for the deoxygenated blood. So first of all, the blood comes from the lungs, and remember which vein is carrying. Generally the veins carry the deoxygenated blood, but in case of the heart you have to remember that this is the pulmonary vein which carries the oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left atrium. You can see this is left atrium. So blood comes from the lungs to the left atrium, and then from left atrium it goes to the left ventricle, and then this blood from the left ventricle, you can see this is the valve in between V1, so that blood which has come in the ventricle, it will not move again back to the atrium. And remember, atrium is in relaxed position when the blood comes to atrium, and when it contracts, then means when it shrinks, the blood comes to the ventricle. And the walls of atrium are thin in comparison to the walls of the ventricle, because the ventricle has to pump the blood. So ventricle has the thicker wall and atrium has thin wall in comparison. So from this left ventricle the blood is pumped. You can see from here the blood is pumped through the aorta. This is aorta, you can see, and through aorta this is a vessel and it is the largest vessel. Handwriting doesn't come good in this way, so never mind. So this aorta is the biggest artery and it brings the blood to the body organs. You can see how this once the blood is coming to the body organ from the lungs, and then the next circulation, that from the body organs the blood flows through the vena cava. Here which vessels are used to take blood? This is vena cava. So vena cava, that is the main vein, it carries this deoxygenated blood to the right atrium. You can see this is coming into the right atrium. And in right atrium, this blood, when atrium in relaxed position, the blood comes in this, and then this blood goes to the right ventricle when atrium contracts. Remember this. Then this comes into the right ventricle. And again you can see here, this is the valve which is written V2 here. So again the blood will not flow back to the atrium. And from right ventricle the blood goes through this pulmonary artery to the lungs. You can see it is going through this artery to the lungs. So one thing you have to learn, that only this pulmonary artery is the artery which is carrying the deoxygenated blood from right ventricle or from heart, you can say, to the lungs. And pulmonary vein is carrying the pure blood, oxygenated blood from lungs to the left atrium, or you can say to the heart. You have to learn here this which vessel brings the blood to body organs, that is aorta. And a very important, very frequently asked question is, name the vessels which carry the blood to the heart and away from the heart. So you can see that which carries to the heart, that is vein. This is also vein, and here also this is main vein, right? So which vessels carry the heart blood to the heart? That is veins. Veins carry the blood to the heart. And which vessel carry the blood away from the heart? You can see here that this is aorta. Aorta is carrying the blood away from the heart. From ventricle, which vessel is carrying the blood? That is aorta to the body organ. And here also from right ventricle, this is artery. So arteries carry the blood away from the heart. So this is important question here. One more question, you can see that why the walls of the ventricle thick. So ventricles have thick walls because ventricles have to pump the blood. You know that blood comes in the atrium and then it goes to the ventricle, and this is ventricle which pumps the blood. So that is why ventricles have thick walls. Double circulation. You know that in our heart, the left side chambers and the right side chambers are separated by a wall called septum. And this separation of right side chambers and the left side chambers of heart is useful to keep oxygenated and deoxygenated blood from mixing. And such separation allows a high efficient supply of oxygen to the body. And this is useful in the animals which have high energy needs, like we humans, mammals, as well as birds, and which constantly use energy to maintain their body temperature. You know that birds also are warm blooded animals, mammals also warm blooded animals, and warm blooded animals need energy to maintain the body temperature. So that is why we need high energy supply, and this is possible only if there will be no mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. You can see here that this is the oxygenated blood on the left hand side, and this is the left, these are the left chambers of the heart, and these are the right chambers of the heart, and this is the deoxygenated blood, and these are the lung capillaries, and these are the capillaries of the body organs. So there is no mixing of the blood, whether it is oxygenated or deoxygenated, and that is why we get proper oxygen supply to maintain our body temperature. But if we see the fishes, they have only two chambered heart, and the blood is pumped to the gills of the fish and is oxygenated there, and then passes directly to the rest of the body, because they don't need much energy supply, because they have not to maintain the body temperature. These are the cold blooded animals. And in the same way, the amphibians or many reptiles, they have the three chambered heart, because they can tolerate some mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, because they are the cold blooded animals. So remember this, because this is very frequently asked question. Why do we need four chambered heart? And one question, what is double circulation? Because the blood flows twice through heart. You can see this is the one cycle which is on the left hand side, that blood is coming from the lung to the left atrium, then to left ventricle, and then from left ventricle through aorta it goes to the body organs, and then from body organs through vena cava it comes to the right atrium, then to right ventricle, and then through pulmonary artery it goes to the lungs. So that is why it is known as the double circulation, because it goes through the heart twice during each cycle. So I hope you all have got this double circulation properly. Let's discuss about the blood pressure. The force that blood exerts against the wall of a vessel is known as blood pressure. You know that blood is a fluid, and when it flows inside the vessel, this exerts the force on the walls, and this force on the walls is known as the blood pressure. And this blood pressure is much greater in arteries than in veins. During the ventricular systole, means at the time of contraction, the pressure of the blood inside the artery is known as systolic pressure. This name is from the word systole, because during the ventricular systole the pressure is there, that is why it is known as systolic pressure. And during the ventricular diastole the pressure is there, it is known as diastolic pressure, means at the time of relaxation the pressure is known as diastolic pressure. And the normal measurement of systolic pressure is about 120 millimeter of mercury and at atmospheric pressure, and diastolic pressure is 80 millimeter of mercury. And increase of this pressure is known as high blood pressure or hypertension, which you have heard so many times that any person is suffering from the high blood pressure, that is high BP generally we say, or hypertension. So when do we say that the person is suffering from high blood pressure or the hypertension? When his or her blood pressure, that is the systolic pressure, is more than 120 mm and diastolic pressure more than 80 mm. Then we say that person is suffering from high BP. And which instrument is used to measure the blood pressure? That is known as sphygmomanometer. See, these are the instruments. One is the mercury one, this one, and this one is the electronic one by which you can measure the blood pressure. So generally people are keeping nowadays electronic one to measure the blood pressure, and they keep it at home so that whenever they need to check the blood pressure they can check. Please go through each slide properly. Try to understand the topic well, because this is very important topic, and the questions which I told in between, these all questions are also frequently asked question, very very important questions. Thanks for watching the video. Please like and share the video and subscribe the channel if you have not subscribed yet. Thank you.